The moon hung full and silver, its light bleeding across the forest clearing where two figures stood, hearts connected, souls divided. "Say it, Selene," Kael growled, his amber eyes glowing with restrained fury. "Say the words, if you dare." Selene's throat tightened. Every instinct screamed no, but her pride burned brighter than reason. "I reject you, Alpha Kael of the Crescent Pack," she whispered, voice trembling. "You are too proud, too cruel, and I will not be bound to a monster." The forest fell silent. Kael's jaw clenched. The bond between them twisted like a knife, burning down his spine. He took one slow breath, the kind a warrior takes before surrender. "So be it." The moon above flickered, as if in mourning. The pack gasped. And in that single, tragic heartbeat, fate sealed its cruel decree. Later that night, Kael stood before his pack again. "I, Alpha Kael, accept Luna Mira as my mate." Selene's wolf howled inside her, a raw, tearing pain so fierce she dropped to her knees, clutching her chest. Her wolf screamed through her mind, "What have you done?" Kael turned away, his eyes shadowed with agony he would never show. For even as the new bond formed, his soul still whispered one truth. He had only ever loved her. Welcome to Black Veil, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you. The moon had never felt so cruel. It bathed the forest in silver, indifferent to the agony tearing through two souls bound by destiny. Selene collapsed to the ground, her claws digging into the dirt as her body convulsed. Every breath burned, every heartbeat felt like her chest was being split open. Her wolf thrashed inside her, howling and screaming against the decision she had made just hours ago. "You fool," her wolf shrieked in her mind. "You've severed our bond. You've killed him, and us." Tears streamed down Selene's cheeks as she tried to silence the voice, but the pain was unbearable. It wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. Every fiber of her being was screaming for the one she'd pushed away. "Kael," she whispered hoarsely, clutching her chest as if she could hold the pieces of her soul together. "Moon, forgive me." But miles away, in the grand hall of the Crescent Pack, Alpha Kael stood tall before his wolves, stoic, composed, and burning from the inside out. The ceremonial fire cast long shadows across his face. His expression was blank, his voice steady, but his veins pulsed with pain so intense he could barely stand. The newly formed bond with Mira, his chosen Luna, crackled faintly within him, a hollow echo of what he had lost. He'd chosen survival over love. Duty over soul. He could still feel Selene's heartbeat, even from afar. The bond might have been severed, but the mark of the moon was not so easily erased. As the pack huddled to honor their new Luna, Kael's wolf raged within him, slamming against the walls of his mind. "She is ours. Not this imposter. Not her." Kael's jaw tightened. He couldn't let them see his weakness. Not the trembling in his hands. Not the faint, red glimmer burning beneath his golden eyes. He was an alpha. He couldn't afford to break. Mira smiled shyly at him, unaware that every time she touched him, his wolf recoiled in silent agony. Later that night, when the ceremony was over, Kael stood alone on the balcony, staring at the full moon that hung above the packlands. "She rejected me," he whispered to the night. "And yet, she's still inside me." His wolf whimpered in his mind. "She's hurting, too." A muscle in his jaw twitched. "Then let her feel it," he muttered bitterly, though his heart screamed the opposite. Back in the forest, Selene lay beneath the moonlight, her body trembling, her wolf fading with exhaustion. But even through her pain, she could still sense him, his heartbeat, his scent, his torment. It wrapped around her like a curse she couldn't escape. And for the first time since the rejection, she realized the truth. The bond wasn't broken. It was bleeding. And they were both drowning in it. Morning came heavy with silence. The Crescent Pack's den buzzed with whispers, cautious, uneasy, curious. A new Luna had been named, yet the air carried tension thick enough to taste. Alpha Kael sat at the long stone table, his expression carved in stone as he listened to the pack's reports. Mira stood quietly beside him, smiling softly as she poured his drink, but the wolves' eyes betrayed their doubt. A Luna chosen overnight? A mate bond replaced so quickly? The whispers slithered through the pack like smoke. Kael ignored them, keeping his voice calm and his posture rigid. Inside, his wolf was pacing violently. Myra's scent filled his senses, sweet, artificial, wrong. It clung to him like perfume masking blood. When the council was dismissed, Kael rose. "You've done well, Luna," he said formally. His tone was polite but hollow. Myra's smile wavered. "Do you still think of her?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Kael turned, eyes flashing amber. "I think of my pack," he said. Nothing else. But the moment he left the hall, his control cracked. His claws threatened to push through his skin. The phantom echo of Selene's heartbeat still pulsed faintly beneath his own, steady, stubborn, alive. Far from the packlands, Selene sat by the edge of the river that cut through the wild forest. Her reflection wavered in the water, eyes rimmed red, skin pale, wolf silent. She hadn't slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Kael standing beneath the moon, choosing another. Her heart clenched, her wolf's voice faint but still full of anguish. "You've cursed us both," the wolf whispered. "We were never meant to sever what the moon bound." Selene buried her face in her hands. "He had to move on," she murmured, trying to convince herself. "He's an alpha." He had no choice. But even as she said it, a sharp pain rippled through her chest, a reminder that part of him still lived inside her. That night, she went to see the Moon Priestess, the oldest living Lycran in Lunaris, a being said to carry the whispers of the goddess herself. The priestess's hut was lit by blue flame, the air thick with incense and moon herbs. "You've come to ask about the pain," the priestess said before Selene could speak. Her eyes glowed white, ancient and knowing. Selene swallowed hard. "Why hasn't it stopped?" The priestess traced a finger along the crescent scar on Selene's palm, the mark of a bond once sacred. "Because rejection does not end the bond," she said softly. "It only poisons it. You rejected him with words, but your heart never followed. The moon does not forgive such conflict." Selene's voice broke. "But I had to. He was cruel." The priestess lifted a hand. "And you loved him still." The silence that followed was heavier than grief. The old woman leaned closer. "Listen to me well, child. The alpha's body may endure a new mate, but his soul will burn until the true bond is healed, or destroyed. If the bond collapses under the next full moon, both of you will suffer the moon's wrath." Selene's eyes widened. "Wrath. Death," the priestess whispered. The blue flames flickered violently, casting long shadows on the walls. Selene's heartbeat thundered in her ears. For the first time, she realized that her pride might cost more than love, it might cost both their lives. Meanwhile, back in the Crescent Pack Manor, Kael stood in his chamber, staring out the window at the same moon that haunted her. He ran a hand over his chest where the pain never faded, his wolf's growl rumbling beneath the surface. "She's scared," his wolf murmured. Kael's jaw tightened. "Good," he lied. "She should be." But when he closed his eyes, he saw her, tears glistening, her lips trembling, the night she spoke those fatal words. And for the briefest moment, his mask slipped. The great Alpha bowed his head and whispered her name like a prayer he wasn't allowed to speak. The full moon was still days away, yet its pull already trembled through the Crescent Pack lands, a strange, restless energy that none could explain. The wolves were uneasy. The winds whispered her name. And deep within his chest, Alpha Kael felt it, the bond he thought he'd buried was stirring again. Kael stood at the edge of the training grounds, watching his warriors spar. His body was strong, every movement precise and controlled, but his mind was far from the fight. He could feel her again. Her scent. Her heartbeat. The faint, trembling echo of her pain. Mira, the Lunaby title, approached with her usual graceful steps. "You've been distracted," she said softly. "The pack notices. You should rest." Kael turned to her, the gold in his eyes dull. "An alpha doesn't rest. He leads." She smiled weakly. "And yet your wolf." "My wolf is fine," he snapped, his tone sharp enough to make her flinch. But as she walked away, he clenched his fists. He could feel his wolf stirring inside him, agitated, disobedient. "She's close," the wolf whispered. Kael's breath hitched. "No. I made my choice." The moon doesn't care for your choices, came the reply, raw and primal. Far beyond the pack borders, Selene wandered through the old moon ruins, a sacred ground where Lycrans once came to strengthen their bonds. The air shimmered faintly with silver light, the stones engraved with runes of the moon goddess. Her wolf was weak but restless. The voice in her mind had grown quieter, replaced by something else, a whisper not her own. The bond bleeds still, it murmured. She froze. Who's there? The voice didn't answer directly, but the runes pulsed brighter, glowing with faint blue fire. The bond you broke must be healed, or both will perish under the moon's gaze. Pride is not worth death, child of night. Selene fell to her knees. Then tell me how to fix it. But the only response was silence, and the gentle rustle of leaves as the moonlight dimmed. That night, Kael couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, hands trembling as the mark of his former bond, a faint crescent scar near his heart, began to burn again. His wolf howled inside him. She's calling you. Kael slammed his fist into the desk, splintering the wood. No. She rejected me. She wanted me gone. And yet you feel her still, his wolf hissed. Because she's yours. Because you're hers. He rose abruptly, his breathing uneven. The pull was unbearable now, an invisible thread tightening around his soul. He could sense her fear, her regret, her confusion. He hated it. He hated how much he still cared. In the forest, Selene's wolf stirred weakly. He feels you, it whispered. He's fighting it, but he feels you. Tears welled in Selene's eyes. I didn't mean for this, she murmured. I just wanted him to change, to see that love isn't control. Her wolf's voice was soft but pained. Then show him. Before the moon takes you both. Selene looked up at the sky, where the half-moon hung like a wound in the heavens. For the first time since that night, her heart whispered the truth she'd been too proud to admit. She had never stopped loving him. And somewhere in the dark, Kael whispered her name again, though he didn't know why. The Crescent Pack Manor stood quiet that morning, too quiet. Even the howls from the forest had grown faint, uneasy, as if the moon herself was holding her breath. Inside, Alpha Kael sat alone in his chambers, his head bowed, his breath shallow. His hands trembled violently against the desk, the veins in his forearms glowing faintly gold, the mark of a bond poisoning its bearer. He was dying. Slowly. Silently. The pain came in waves, invisible but cruel. Every time he tried to push it down, his wolf retaliated, snarling, pacing, yearning for what it had lost. You can't keep this up, his wolf warned. Kael gritted his teeth. I can't go back. I won't. You'll break. Then let me. He rose, staggering to the balcony, gripping the railing for balance. The forest stretched below him, endless and cold. Somewhere out there, she was alive, breathing, feeling, suffering the same burn that consumed him. He hated her for it. And he loved her for it. Later that day, the pack gathered for training. Kael led as always, his movements sharp, his authority absolute. But the wolves could see the cracks, the faint tremor in his voice, the flicker of pain in his eyes when he thought no one noticed. Alpha, one of his betas, Ryan, spoke hesitantly, Are you? I'm fine, Kael snapped, eyes glowing. Focus on the task. The warriors obeyed, but unease rippled through the ranks. Whispers spread faster than wind. Even Mira noticed. That night, as they dined in silence, she studied him, the distant eyes, the stiffness in his shoulders, the way he barely touched his food. You're getting worse, she said finally. Kael's fork stilled. What are you talking about? You don't sleep. You barely eat. You wake with claw marks on your chest. You think I don't feel it, she pressed, her voice trembling. The bond between us is weak because you're still bound to her. Kael's eyes flashed dangerously. Enough. Mira rose, her voice breaking. Do you love her that much? The one who rejected you. Kael stood slowly, towering over her. His voice was low, controlled, deadly. This conversation is over. She left in tears. And the moment she was gone, Kael's control shattered. He sank to his knees, clutching his chest as a wave of fire tore through him. His wolf howled in agony, his mark burning bright against his skin. "She's near," the wolf gasped. "She's coming." Kael froze. His heart began to race. He could feel her scent carried by the wind, faint but unmistakable. At that same moment, deep in the forest, Selene crept toward the Crescent Pack borders. She hadn't meant to, her body simply moved, guided by an unseen force that pulled her closer with every step. Her wolf stirred weakly, but with purpose. "We need to see him. The moon demands it." Selene's throat tightened. "He won't want to see me." "He doesn't have to. The bond will." When she reached the clearing near the old training ground, she froze. Through the mist, she saw him, Kael, standing alone under the moonlight, his breath heavy, his chest rising and falling as if he'd been fighting something unseen. Even from a distance, she felt it, the pull, the fire, the magnetic ache that had never left. Kael turned, and for a heartbeat, time stopped. Their eyes met, his golden and burning, hers wide and wet with unshed tears. Neither moved. Neither spoke. But the silence between them said everything. Every emotion they'd buried. Every word they'd left unsaid. Every heartbeat they'd spent trying not to need each other. Selene's wolf whispered softly, almost brokenly, "Home." And Kael's control slipped just enough for the truth to flicker across his face, longing, pain, love, all wrapped in fury. Then he turned away. Without a word. Because if he didn't, he might never be able to leave again. The Crescent Pack had always been strong, united by blood, loyalty, and fear of their alpha. But now, the cracks were showing. Kael's strength had once been their anchor, his presence enough to command silence, obedience, and respect. Now, the wolves whispered behind his back. His once fierce aura wavered, still deadly, still powerful, but dimmed by something unseen. And though none dared speak it aloud, they all felt the truth. Their alpha was breaking. Training sessions grew shorter. Patrols came back late. Wolves grew restless. Beta Ryan had tried to tighten the pack's discipline, but even he couldn't stop the slow unraveling. And at the center of it all was Mira. The new Luna. The chosen replacement. The mark on her neck still glowed faintly, Kael's claim, given not from love but necessity. She knew it. The pack knew it. And that truth ate at her like poison. "Do you think she'll return?" Ryan asked quietly one night as he watched Mira pacing near the fire pit. "She already has," Mira said, her tone laced with venom. "I saw her near the border." "He saw her too." Ryan frowned. "Then it's true." Mira turned to him, her eyes flashing red in the firelight. "He still loves her, Ryan. And it's killing him." Her voice cracked. "But if he thinks he can love her and rule this pack, he's wrong. I won't let her destroy what I bled for." Ryan sighed. "Be careful, Mira. The pack's on edge. If Kael senses betrayal—" "He won't," she interrupted coldly. "He's too busy fighting his own heart." Meanwhile, deep within the woods, Selene was fighting her own battle. Her wolf had grown weaker, restless from the severed bond and the pull she'd resisted too long. Every night she felt it, a pulse beneath her skin, a whisper from the moon calling her back to him. And every night, she refused. Until the fever came. It started as a dull ache in her chest, then spread like wildfire through her veins. Her wolf whimpered in pain, her body convulsing beneath the silver light. "You broke the bond," her wolf cried. "The moon is punishing us both." Selene gasped, falling to her knees. "Then let it. He needs to learn humility." But even as she said it, her vision blurred with tears. She saw flashes, Kael on the balcony, clutching his heart, the agony mirrored in her own soul. She still loved him. And that was her curse. At the Crescent Hall, Kael stood before the Pack Council, his fists clenched at his sides. "The border-sent patrols are weak," he growled. "The rogues are testing us. One more breach and I'll—" He stopped mid-sentence, his voice breaking. A sharp pain shot through his chest, forcing him to grip the table for balance. Mira rushed to him. "Kael, you're not." "I said I'm fine." His roar echoed through the hall, silencing everyone. But they all saw it, the way his body trembled, the sweat glistening on his skin, the raw pain in his eyes. A ripple of fear spread through the room. For the first time, their alpha looked mortal. Ryan exchanged a wary glance with another elder. The moon's bond, he muttered under his breath. It's eating him alive. And from the back of the hall, Myra's voice sliced through the silence. Then maybe it's time we end it, before it ends him. That night, as Kael sat in darkness, his wolf spoke softly. They doubt you. They fear you. They pity you. Kael's lips curled into a bitter smile. Let them. And her. He hesitated. The name came unbidden. Selene. The bond flared, faint but alive, threading through his chest like fire. He looked toward the moonlit window, jaw tight. She wanted me to change, he whispered. Maybe she got her wish. But deep down, Kael knew what neither of them could admit. No amount of pride or punishment could undo the truth. They were still bound, not by choice, not by the moon's decree, but by love. And love, in the world of Lycrans, was a curse stronger than death. The moon hung low that night, swollen, red, and watchful. A bad omen. The kind that made even the oldest wolves bow their heads and whisper prayers they no longer believed in. Kael felt its pull deep in his bones. Every throb of his heart echoed with her name, Selene. Every breath was a war he could no longer win. He stood at the edge of his balcony, his hands gripping the railing hard enough to crack the stone beneath them. The wind howled, carrying her scent. Wild. Untamed. Fading. The pain came again, sharp and merciless, slicing through his chest like silver. He dropped to his knees, clutching his heart, his wolf snarling within. You can't fight the bond, his wolf roared inside him. I can damn well try, Kael hissed aloud, his breath ragged. But even he knew he was losing. Across the valley, deep within the misty forest, Selene lay curled against the cold ground. Her body trembled as her wolf whimpered endlessly. We're dying, the voice inside her cried. You hurt him, you hurt us both. Stop, Selene whispered, pressing her palms against her chest. He deserved it. He was cruel. Heartless. But he was ours, her wolf rasped, fading into a low whine. And the moon doesn't forgive broken bonds. Selene's vision blurred. The mark that once glowed faintly on her neck, the invisible mark that tied her to Kael, burned like fire. She screamed, the sound echoing into the night. Somewhere far away, Kael roared too. Their agony bled through the bond neither could sever. By dawn, the Crescent Pack knew something was wrong. Their alpha hadn't been seen since nightfall. The air was thick with unease, wolves pacing restlessly at the borders. Beta Ryan finally found Kael in the ritual chamber, kneeling before the ancient moonstone. Alpha, Ryan said softly, you shouldn't be here alone. Kael didn't move. His skin was pale, his veins dark with the corruption of the broken bond. She's dying, he said hoarsely. I can feel it. Ryan's eyes widened. Then take her back. End this madness. Kael's lips curled bitterly. You think I wouldn't? She doesn't want me, Ryan. She wanted me to change. Ryan's jaw tightened. Then maybe this is the moon's way of forcing you to. Kael looked up, eyes glowing silver in the dim light. Or killing me for failing. That night, Mira confronted him. You can't keep doing this, she hissed, slamming the chamber door shut. You're killing yourself, and her. Kael turned, his gaze cold but broken. You knew what this bond meant when you accepted me, Mira. You were a choice made from duty, not desire. Myra's voice cracked. Then make me your desire. Her eyes shimmered with desperate tears. Let her go, Kael. Let the bond die. We can perform the ritual, the severing. It'll end your pain. Kael hesitated. And hers. Mira swallowed hard. If the moon wills it, yes. The words hung heavy between them. Finally, Kael nodded. Prepare it. His tone was hollow. If this is what must be done, then so be it. Meanwhile, miles away, Selene stirred from her fevered sleep. Her wolf whimpered faintly. He's fading. Selene jolted upright, clutching her chest. No. No, he can't. Her pulse raced as a vision slammed into her mind, Kael, standing before the moonstone, his chest glowing faintly, the air around him alive with ancient magic. He was preparing to sever their bond, permanently. Her heart lurched. He wouldn't dare. But deep down, she knew he would. Because Kael never did anything halfway. Not even love. The moon shone blood-red that night, the mark of judgment. In the Crescent Hall, the ritual began. Kael knelt before the moonstone, the priestess chanting in the old tongue. Mira stood behind him, her eyes gleaming with a mix of triumph and sorrow. The priestess's voice rose higher. The air trembled. A column of silver light enveloped Kael, burning through his veins like wildfire. At the same moment, miles away, Selene screamed, clutching her chest as the same light erupted around her. The moon's magic didn't separate them. It bound them tighter, through agony, through soul, through curse. And when the light faded, Kael collapsed to the floor, trembling. Ryan rushed to his side. Alpha. What happened? Kael's breathing was shallow, but his voice was clear. The moon has made its choice. He looked up, eyes blazing. If she dies, I die with her. The moon had not been merciful. It had not severed the bond as Kael had hoped. Instead, it had rewritten it, in blood, in pain, in destiny. Kael awoke to darkness. His body burned from within, every heartbeat a roar in his ears. His veins pulsed with a strange, glowing silver light that throbbed beneath his skin. The priestess stood nearby, trembling. Alpha, the ritual, it did not fail. It transformed. Kael's vision blurred. What do you mean? Her voice shook. The moon has reborn your bond. You are no longer tied to her by choice, but by fate. The magic has marked you both as one. Mira, standing behind them, stiffened. What does that mean? The priestess's eyes filled with fear. If one dies, the other will follow. Their souls are now one flame. Kael's world spun. He pressed a hand to his chest, feeling the faint pull, Selene's heartbeat, faint but alive, echoing in rhythm with his. He was still connected to her. But now, escape was impossible. Far beyond the borders, Selene woke gasping. Her wolf was no longer weak, she was roaring, alive, fierce. Energy surged through her, flooding her senses with Kael's emotions, his rage, his exhaustion, his grief. It was unbearable, raw and consuming. What have you done? She whispered to the night. Her wolf's voice echoed within. The moon chose to punish you both. You broke its sacred bond, now you must live with it. Selene clenched her fists. No. I won't be bound to him again. You already are, her wolf murmured sadly. Only death can unbind you now. Selene's breath caught. Death. The word lingered like frost. Back in the Crescent Pack's stronghold, Kael stood. Before the mirror, staring at the silver mark glowing faintly across his chest. It pulsed like a heartbeat, the same rhythm he could feel from far away. Mira stormed in, fury in her eyes. You lied to me, she hissed. You said this would end. Kael turned slowly, his expression hard. I didn't lie. The moon made its own choice. She still owns you. Mira shouted. Even after rejecting you, she still controls you. Kael's voice was low, but sharp. Watch your tone, Luna. Mira laughed bitterly. Luna. You made me your Luna in name, not in soul. You'll never love me, Kael. And now, thanks to her, you never can. Before he could respond, she stormed out, slamming the door so hard it cracked. Kael leaned against the wall, his hand trembling. For the first time in years, he didn't know what to do. He could feel Selene's pain through the bond, her confusion, her defiance, her fear. And beneath it all, something he had longed for. Her love, buried but real, flickering like dying embers refusing to fade. Later that night. As the moon reached its highest point, Selene appeared on the border of the Crescent territory. Her silver eyes glowed in the dark, her wolf pacing beneath her skin. Kael, she shouted into the night. The trees fell silent. The air grew heavy. Moments later, Kael emerged from the shadows, his presence commanding, his expression unreadable. Their eyes met, and the world stopped. The bond surged between them, alive with fire and pain. Her chest burned, his heart raced. Every emotion they had buried came rushing to the surface. "You performed the ritual," she said, her voice trembling with fury. "You tried to sever us." Kael's jaw tightened. "I tried to save us. By binding us forever," she spat. "You damned us both." He took a step closer, his gaze fierce. "You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to feel your pain, your hatred, every moment of my life?" Selene's voice broke. "Then why can't you let me go?" Kael's hand shot out, gripping her wrist. The touch ignited the bond, a pulse of energy that made them both gasp. "Because," he said softly, his voice cracking, "I don't know how to stop loving you." The forest was silent but for their ragged breaths. Selene trembled, her wolf clawing at her insides, begging her to forgive him. But she couldn't. Not yet. Not while her heart still bled from his cruelty. She tore her wrist free and stepped back. "Then you'll have to learn." Before he could respond, she shifted, her silver wolf bursting forth and disappearing into the trees, leaving only her scent behind. Kael watched her vanish into the forest, his chest aching, his bond screaming in agony. And as the moon watched from above, both wolves howled, one in heartbreak, the other in defiance, their cries weaving together into a single, haunting song that echoed across the valley. A song of love, pain, and fate. The Crescent Pack had always feared betrayal, but no one expected it to come from within. Mira stood in the shadows of the temple, her heartbeat wild with fury. She could still feel the echo of Kael's bond with Selene pulsing faintly through the air, a constant reminder that no matter what she did, she would never truly have him. Every night, Kael called for Selene in his dreams. Every morning, his eyes drifted toward the horizon, toward the forest where she had disappeared. And every time Mira saw it, something inside her cracked a little more. "I gave up everything to stand beside you," she whispered to the empty room. "And still, I am invisible." The ancient priestess emerged from the shadows, her silver eyes glinting. "You seek to change fate, Luna." Mira straightened. "Yes. I want the bond between Kael and the she-wolf destroyed. For good." The priestess tilted her head. "You dare to defy the moon?" "I dare to claim what should have been mine," Mira said coldly. "Tell me what it takes." The priestess hesitated. "There is only one way. Blood magic. Forbidden since the first moon." Mira's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "Then it's perfect." That same night, Kael stood alone by the river, his reflection distorted in the moonlight. His wolf prowled beneath his skin, restless, sensing something dark approaching. Ryan found him there, silent as ever. "You've been distant, Alpha," he said quietly. "The pack can feel it. They're losing faith." Kael didn't respond. His gaze stayed on the rippling water. Finally, he said, "Do you believe in redemption, Ryan?" The beta frowned. "For who?" "For monsters like me." Ryan sighed. "You're not a monster, Kael. Just a man who's forgotten what mercy feels like." Kael's jaw tightened. "Then maybe it's too late." Before Ryan could answer, Kael's chest flared with sudden heat. He stumbled, gripping a tree for balance as the pain surged again, raw, consuming, far worse than before. "Alpha." Ryan rushed forward, but Kael pushed him back. "She's hurting," Kael gasped. "Something's wrong with Selene." Miles away, Selene collapsed near the edge of the forest, clutching her heart. The pain came in waves, twisting her soul. Her wolf screamed inside her head. Dark magic. Someone's trying to sever the bond by force. Selene's breath came in ragged bursts. Who would dare? Her eyes widened. Mira. Her fury surged like wildfire. She forced herself to stand, every muscle trembling, her body radiating silver light. "If she wants a fight," she whispered through clenched teeth, "she'll get one." At the temple, Mira stood in a circle of candles, the forbidden sigils glowing faintly beneath her feet. The priestess chanted in the old tongue, her voice trembling. "Once this begins, there is no turning back. The moon will demand blood for blood." Mira raised the ceremonial dagger. "Then let it take hers." The flames around her flickered violently as the spell took hold, tendrils of dark smoke coiling toward the sky. At that exact moment, Kael roared, his wolf breaking through the surface. His eyes turned molten silver as power rippled through him. "Mira," he bellowed, his voice echoing across the entire valley. The temple doors burst open as Kael stormed in, his presence shaking the ground. The candles snuffed out instantly, the air growing cold. Mira froze mid-chant, her dagger poised over the altar. "You shouldn't be here," she shouted. "You dare touch the bond." Kael's voice was pure fury. His wolf was fully awake now, ancient, commanding, terrifying. Mira's eyes glistened with tears. "I did it for you. For us. She's killing you, Kael." He stepped closer, his fangs bared. "You've doomed us all." The dark energy surged out of control, slamming them both to the ground. The ritual spiraled, feeding on their emotions, their rage, their heartbreak. And then, the world exploded in white light. When the dust settled, Mira lay unconscious, her body still. Kael stumbled to his feet, chest heaving, his vision blurry, but the moment he looked toward the window, he felt it. Selene was near. Her heartbeat called to him like a beacon. And through the haze of smoke and magic, her scent drifted in, wild, fierce, alive. She had come for him. Outside the temple, Selene stood beneath the blood-red moon, her silver eyes glowing with fury and heartbreak. Her wolf paced inside her, power thrumming through every nerve. Kael stepped into the doorway, the light catching on his blood-stained skin. Their eyes met, predator and prey, lovers and enemies, cursed and bound. And for a heartbeat, neither moved. Then Selene whispered, her voice trembling but steady. "This ends tonight, Kael. One way or another." The air was thick with smoke and moonfire. The Crescent Temple lay in ruins behind them, the earth still humming with the echo of forbidden magic. Selene stood in the clearing, chest heaving, her silver eyes blazing as her wolf shimmered beneath her skin. Kael faced her across the broken stones, his body trembling, his heart split open by too many truths. The bond between them pulsed violently, alive, unstable, consuming. Every emotion they'd buried for years now tore through them like wildfire. "Why did you come back?" Kael demanded, his voice hoarse, eyes glowing fiercely in the red light. Selene's lips trembled, but her tone was cold. "Because you were dying." "Because I was dying." Kael's jaw tightened. "You should have stayed away." "I couldn't," she cried, the word ripping through the night. "No matter how far I ran, your pain followed me. Your heartbeat wouldn't stop calling to me." Kael's breath hitched, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Then tell me, Selene. Tell me you still don't feel it." She hesitated. The bond flared between them, a pulse that made her knees weak. Every memory came rushing back, his touch, his voice, the warmth of his embrace before pride destroyed everything. Tears burned in her eyes. "I hate you," she whispered. "But I can't stop loving you either." Kael stepped closer, the moonlight catching the scars on his chest. "Then stop fighting it." Their wolves stirred restlessly, pulling them toward one another. The moon itself seemed to hold its breath. Selene's voice trembled. "You were cruel, Kael. Arrogant. You treated the pack like pawns. You treated me like a trophy." "I know," he said, every word weighted with regret. "And I hated myself for it. I thought strength meant power, not love. I was wrong." Her wolf howled softly in her mind, "He's telling the truth." Selene shook her head. "Words don't change what you did." Kael closed the distance between them, their faces inches apart. "Then let me show you." He reached for her hand, slow, careful, as if afraid she'd disappear. The moment his skin touched hers, the bond exploded in light. The force threw them both to their knees, visions flooding their minds, memories of their first run under the full moon, the first time they touched, the first time they whispered each other's names. The moon wasn't punishing them. It was reminding them. Selene gasped, her breath shaking. "Kael, what is this?" His voice broke. "The moon's last mercy. It's showing us what we lost." Tears streaked her cheeks as she clutched his hand tighter. "It hurts so much." He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "Because it's real. The bond surged one final time, fierce, bright, unrelenting, and then everything went still. When the light faded, Kael held her in his arms. For the first time in years, his heart felt calm. But peace never lasted long in their world. From the edge of the clearing, Ryan emerged, bloodied and breathless. "Alpha," he called. "The priestess, she's dead." But the spell didn't end with her. The moon's power, it's collapsing the bond. Kael's head snapped up. What? Selene's chest seized with sudden pain. The mark on her neck blazed white-hot. Her wolf screamed, the bonds tearing itself apart. Kael caught her as she fell, his arms wrapping around her tightly. "Stay with me." Selene's breathing came shallow, her voice faint. "It's too late, the moon's choosing." Kael's eyes glistened. "No. Not this time." He lifted her chin, their foreheads touching once more. "If one of us dies, the other dies too. So I'm not letting you go." Selene's lips trembled, her tears falling freely. "Then we die together." Kael's voice was soft, but firm. "No. We live together. Or not at all." He closed his eyes, focusing on the bond, pulling it toward him, willing his strength into her. The moon above them flared brighter, the air vibrating with raw energy. Selene gasped as her wolf surged back to life, her heart sinking once more with his. The mark on both their skin dimmed, not broken, but finally balanced. The moon's voice whispered through the wind, ancient and soft. "The bond is not your curse, my children, it is your salvation." Kael held her as the forest fell silent again. Their eyes met, not as Alpha and Rogue, not as enemies, but as two souls reborn under the same moon. Selene touched his face gently. "You changed." He smiled faintly. "You made me." For the first time, her wolf purred contentedly within her. No fear. No pain. Just peace. The bond no longer burned. It simply was. But far beyond the mountains, in the ruins of the temple, the blood ritual still glowed faintly, waiting. And within that dying magic, something stirred. A whisper. A presence. A promise of vengeance yet to come. The world was quiet for the first time in years. The war drums had stopped. The cries of wounded wolves no longer echoed through the forest. Only the steady hum of the wind carried the scent of a new dawn. Selene stood by the lake's edge, her reflection shimmering beneath the last full moon of winter. Her silver hair rippled in the night breeze, and the faint mark on her neck glowed softly, no longer burning, no longer cursed. Behind her, Kael approached silently. His presence was calm now, the dangerous edge that once ruled him replaced by something gentler, earned peace. "You're thinking again," he murmured, his deep voice breaking the stillness. Selene smiled faintly. "About everything we lost, and everything we almost never had." Kael stopped beside her, his golden eyes fixed on the moon. "We had to lose everything to see what mattered." She looked at him then, the Alpha who once terrified kingdoms, the men who once ruled by fear, now just a soul learning how to love. "You could have let me go," she whispered. He turned to her, his expression unreadable. "I tried. But the moon didn't make me an Alpha to let go of my heart." Their silence was deep, sacred. The kind only two souls who've known pain could share. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Selene's wolf stirred uneasily. Kael's eyes flashed, gold and fierce. A ripple of energy swept across the clearing, cold and ancient. From the horizon, a crimson mist began to rise, the remnants of Myra's blood spell, the ritual that had nearly torn the moon apart. Selene gasped. "No, it can't be." Kael stepped in front of her, protective instinct surging through his veins. "Stay behind me." But the mist didn't attack, it took shape. A faint, ghostly figure emerged from the haze, Myra's spirit, eyes hollow but calm. "Alpha Kael." "Luna Selene," she said softly, her voice echoing through the night. "You defied the law of the moon. You survived rejection and rebirth." Kael clenched his fists. "You tried to destroy us." Myra smiled faintly, sadness flickering in her eyes. "I tried to break the curse. I only became part of it." The wind swirled around them as the spirit drifted closer. "The moon demands balance," Myra whispered. One bond was mended, another must fade. Selene's pulse spiked. What does that mean? Kael's wolf growled low. No. I won't lose her again. But Myra's gaze softened. You won't lose her. You'll choose her, with truth, not fate. The mark on their necks glowed again, brighter than before. A soft warmth spread between them, not pain this time, but understanding. Myra lifted her hand toward the moon. Break the chains that bound love and fear. Let their bond stand not by destiny, but by choice. Her body dissolved into light, the crimson mist dispersing into the stars. Selene turned to Kael, tears in her eyes. By choice, she whispered. He nodded, his voice low. Then choose me. She stepped closer, heart pounding. Even after everything. Especially after everything. The moon bathed them in silver light as their wolves emerged, two radiant beings, one gold, one silver, circling each other in harmony. They howled together, a sound that echoed through the entire valley, not a call of pain, but of union. Every Lycran in the realm felt it, the ancient bond rewritten, the curse lifted. For the first time in centuries, the Alpha's mark was not a chain, but a promise. When dawn came, Kael stood with Selene on the mountain ridge, watching the first rays of sunlight touch the forest. She leaned into him, whispering softly, "So, this is what peace feels like." Kael smiled faintly, pressing a kiss to her temple. "No. This is what freedom feels like." Selene looked up at him, her alpha, her mate, her equal, and for once, she didn't fear the future. She'd rejected him once to make him change. Now, she chose him because he did. As the sun rose fully, the moon faded, leaving behind only one lingering whisper in the wind. Love that survives rejection is the truest kind. Deep within the ruins of the temple, something shimmered, a single drop of blood that refused to dry. The old curse might have ended. But a new prophecy had already begun to stir beneath the next rising moon. The night grows quiet, but the story never ends. If the moon still calls to you, then don't walk away just yet. Like, subscribe, and return to the Black Veil. Thanks for watching.